Hello everyone, I'm Casey and this is Josh. Today we'll use Semiotics and the Illusion of Life to break down the video by Childish Gambino, This is America, and tying it back into the question, what is the American dream and what is the American experience?
However, before we get started, we must throw in a disclaimer that there is some violent and very graphic images in this music video, and we may be using some of them throughout our analysis video. If anything of that nature makes you sick, you can now leave the classroom.
As we analyze this, I want you to know that we are in no way an authority on the subject. These things are solely what we found in our research.
So first off, Casey, the question really has to be, why choose this music video?
This has been an extremely controversial video. So many people have taken it and broken it down and analyzed it so in depth that it's become part of our pop culture.
Yeah, it actually has 273 million views. So that shows the relevance of what this music video is talking about. Its relevance has really kind of pushed it into the pop culture scene. Growing up in school, we've all heard about, you know, the American dream, that if you come to this country and you work hard, that you can pick yourself up by your bootstrap.
The American dream is kind of shown right at the very beginning of the video within the lyrics.
When Childish Gambino starts the video, first lyrics that he says are, "We just want to party, party just for you. We just want to party, party just for you. I don't want to die, party just for you. We gotta dance, dance and shake the brain."
So it's all about dancing and like getting all the money you can, being successful.
It's almost kind of that, you think of like the old time movies, you know, the depictions of what the American dream was. Being able to have the money to not only pay for what your needs were, but what your wants were. You know, using the theory of the illusion of life, different beats, different lyrics, when put together, can cause different feelings.
That music at the beginning is kind of showing what the ideology behind the American dream is.
It's kind of whimsical and fun with the "we just want to party."
Okay, so directly after those lyrics are over, then comes the gunshot and it completely just changes.
And the beat hits, and "This is America." And it really gives kind of a different feeling to the audience.
Giving context to the realities of the American experience.
Going from a whimsical, fun state back to reality.
We have one of our co-teammates on the other line. Losa, can you hear us?
Aloha. I can hear you loud and clear. Continue.
All right, great. Tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are on the title and the lyrics, "This is America."
All right, y'all, get comfortable, okay? Because your girl has a lot to say about this. I feel like it evokes a few different potential feelings. For those more patriotic among us, the phrase "This is America" can sound like a rally cry. It can feel like an anthem almost to be celebrated. But conversely, for those of us who understand that history is written by the colonizing winners of any conflict, the phrase can evoke feelings of exhaustion at a reality that doesn't favor them. You know, I'm gonna holler out a quick amen to y'all's observations of the song, from that easygoing tribal melody to the bass drop that completely changes the tone and feeling of the song. And using the illusion of life method, we can see very easily how that release pattern at the start of the song with a catchy tribal melody draws in the viewer for what seems like both a positive virtual experience through the lyrics and also positive virtual time experience through the music itself. Unfortunately, once that intensity pattern kicks in with that gunshot, viewers are thrust into this very specific display of the American experience currently. The lyrics
don't catch you slipping now
speak to, I feel like, two sides of the American experience. You know, it can be referencing like the laws of the land, the fairness and application of those laws towards all people. This line also implies that a specific consequence will always inevitably accompany any kind of slip up as defined by those in authority, you know, to maintain some type of order. The other part of those lyrics,
look what I'm whipping up,
can be a reference to that American dream ideal of coming to this country or growing up in this country and ultimately achieving what you set your mind to. Likewise, it could also be a reference to the ways in which people adapt in response to their individual American experiences as they strive for the American dream ideal.
When looking at this music video through the lens of semiotics, it's not just about what he says, but it's also about what he does. One of the first things that jumps out from the very beginning is kind of the facial expressions and some of the movements, the dance movements that Childish Gambino has. The literal denotation of, the movements and the exaggerated faces could just say that he's, going for kind of an over-the-top look. But I think that there's a lot more than meets the eye to those movements.
Yeah, these movements' connotation is actually from the early 1800s, alluding to the African Americans played on stage were done by white men who painted their skin black and did all these things that exaggerated their character. And these poses that he's making, it gives us a glimpse at the times of the past. So throughout this song, it's given us a glimpse of the past, the present, and potentially the future even of the American experience.
Losa, what are your thoughts about Childish Gambino's movement?
When I first watched this, the exaggerated facial expressions and poses, they felt off. There is a connection between those minstrel shows in the 1800s with white men in blackface exaggerating their black characters to be ape-like, lacking in education. They're primarily to entertain and make the white audience laugh through self-degradation. As the gunshot goes off, everything changes, not just the lyrics, but the dance moves as well. Glover begins displaying familiar dance sequences that accompany, modern Black American artists' songs. And the dancing youth that follow Glover throughout the video.
Hey, I'm so fitted. I'm on Gucci.
There is an element of expectation to be entertained that goes farther than just allows the audience to smile, laugh, relate, or release. The choreography itself is a symbol of how the only way the Black community can be palatable for the greater American experience is to fulfill that role of entertainment. Likewise, the illusion of life method would have us look at the rhetorical significance of the degree to which the lyrics or that virtual experience are congruent or incongruent. I definitely see there is a distinct congruity in the intensity and release patterns as Glover raps about gun violence especially. He says,
"Guns in my area. I got the strap. Hey, I gotta carry 'em. Yeah, I'ma go into this. Yeah, this is guerrilla."
Meaning guerrilla war. Those lyrics and the intense patterns of the song just further emphasize the messages that he's trying to communicate about the reality of gun violence being a part of the American experience today.
This isn't really your typical patriotic ideology of what the American dream is. Childish Gambino really attempts to talk about some issues that have really been hot button issues.
There are scenes that are just graphic and that nobody would like to experience. So later in the video, there's another scene depicting gun violence.
This is America.
So when you look at the scene, quite literally, you can see, a gospel choir in their robes, singing, worshiping, and Childish Gambino comes in and guns them down. The first two amendments were freedom of religion and the right to bear arms. Again, throwing back to the American dream. And this picture that Childish Gambino is painting contains both of those. You have a gospel choir that has the freedom of religion, and you have, Childish Gambino who has the right to bear arms, who has a gun. When you look at what's actually happening in this situation and what it's symbolic of, the American experience,
The dream is taken away by the reality.
So sadly enough, as you look back, there was the shooting in Charleston where 9 people were killed. Another shooting in Texas where 26 people were killed.
He's just pulling out the most horrific parts of what the American experience is.
To Childish Gambino, I think it's really kind of the harsh reality of what's happened to our country and kind of trying to bring to the forefront that what was at one point, the right to bear arms is now the American experience when it comes to guns and gun violence.
At another point in the video, we see above everything else on a loft, there are a few people filming what's going on around them on their cell phones.
This is Sally. That's a tool. Yeah. on my Kodak. Black.
Just staring at their screens rather than doing something about it. From a semiotics standpoint, gives the connotation that millennials, instead of acting on the commotion around them, are filming it, talking about it, and nothing else. So how do you feel like this is changing the ideology of the American dream and the American experience then?
Losa!
I got you, fam. I believe the ideology of the American experience revolves around ideas like rags to riches and the bootstrap myth that says all you gotta do is pull yourself up from the bootstraps. While there is truth to that, there's also, I feel, an underlying assumption to this ideology that the American dream is built into a system that will support you. However, the advent of cell phones has transformed those ideas of rags to riches and the bootstrap myth from these personal paths of hard work that no one sees until a successful end into this like daily transparency that's available. Instead of only seeing humble beginnings and then luxurious successes, cell phones are a tool, like Glover raps about, that hyperconnect us into focusing on realities. The people on the platform are staring at their screens. They're looking instead of acting. Basically, the American experience, that ideology, is no longer personal, it's public. And because it's public, no one necessarily claims responsibility.
So as we've discussed Childish Gambino's This Is America, we've gone over the violence, the exaggerated facial expressions,
The different ways in which the beat and the lyrics of the video paint a picture.
and we've taken a look at modern technology. And all of this is shaping the mindset of today's culture.
At the end, there's this poignant picture that he paints in which he's kind of running away from the crowd of people. When looking at itself, it's almost, you wonder, is he running a race? What did he do to make these people chase after him? But the symbolism looking beyond that is actually a lot deeper of, you know, what's going on in that last scene.
He's wanting to get out of this this place that's filled with hatred and hurt and violence, alluding to this is America. This is what is happening to our society. All right, Losa, any final thoughts that you have for us then?
Okay, yes, I always have something to say. So you know that final scene always gets me. The complete terror in Glover's eyes as he sprints through the warehouse in the darkness. You will recall at the start of the video, it's easygoing. You know, the American dream, when you hear about it, you feel at ease with that idea because you feel like you can achieve it. And I think that's mirrored in the start of the video. Until you get into the meat of the video, in the middle is broken up by this like youth dancing troupe that comes to join Glover among all these intense shots, like the choir, the church choir shooting, surely referencing the 2015 shooting that Josh talked about earlier. So I think by like the end of the video, the American experience is shown as a scary one. It's shown by Glover's terrified sprint away from blurred people. That symbolizes, like, you can't prescribe this generic American experience to all people because clearly, as this video shows, it's different for different people. And so there's no one American experience. You know, Glover's closing lyrics are, "You just a black man, bro. You just a bucko, hey." Again, employing the illusion of life method, we can see that the release patterns at the end of the video consist of more like high-pitched, alien, smooth-sounding tones instead of the intense drums and bass and revving noise throughout the rest of the song. And so because of that release pattern, it allows for more focus to be placed on the lyrics of black men being barcodes. So truly, while the American dream might be this rose-colored vision, the reality of the American experience is that it varies across demographics. And specifically for the black demographic, the American experience, I guess currently today, is a scary one.
This Is America is a very controversial song because of its polysemy. It has so many different meanings that people can take from it, and we've outlined only a few. And the conclusion that we've come to is the American dream and the American experience is constantly changing.
And not only is it constantly changing, but the American dream and the American experience have grown apart.
So that's all we have time for today. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again. Never.
This is America.
I gotta carry him. Yeah, I'ma go into this. Yeah, this is gorilla. Yeah, I'ma go get the bag. Yeah, yeah, or I'ma get the pad. Yeah, yeah, I'm